Well, inside Syria, it's proving really increasingly difficult to get anything like a clear picture of the state of the conflict. 2.5 years in, momentum between the regime forces and the rebels has swung back and forth. At the moment, the government does appear to have the upper hand.
Mohammed al-Araj was fighting close to Aleppo in the north of Syria when he was killed. Some of the fiercest fighting is still happening in Aleppo, where government forces are putting increased pressure on rebel positions. But the key strategic battles are happening to the south. In the Kalamoun Mountains on the Lebanese border, government forces, together with their allies Hezbollah, are fighting for control of the rebel supply routes from Lebanon. And suburbs of the capital, Damascus, remain under heavy bombardment and siege. In East Damascus, a massive rescue effort after an airstrike on this home. Children trapped in the rubble. And there are other pictures, too graphic to show you, of children said to have died of malnutrition in suburbs cut off by the fighting.
Well, our international editor, Lindsay Hilsum, is in Damascus tonight, and in southern Turkey, we're joined by the Islamist activist and filmmaker Bilal Abdul Karim. Lindsay, let me come to you first. How does the Syrian government view these British fighters?
Well, I think that the Syrian government here where I am in Damascus will be delighted by today's news. They've always said that their enemies are jihadis. It wasn't always true. There was a time when the opposition here was much more moderate, was talking about democracy. But increasingly it is jihadis. And so what this does is gives the government here the opportunity to say, look, our enemies, those who are fighting us here in Syria, they want to go and fight you in London, in Washington, in Paris. They know it makes it much more difficult for Western countries to support the opposition if all these foreign fighters, Western jihadis, are there.
And they think they have the upper hand, do they?
At the moment, I think the government is feeling more confident. Many say that this is because of the advice they've been receiving from Iran, also troops and training, and the entry of Hezbollah, the Lebanese militia. What seems to be happening is that the government forces actually have a strategy. They are trying to cut off the Lebanese border, where the opposition smuggle in many weapons. They're also operating up on the border with Turkey, cooperating with Kurdish forces there. And the jihadis and also the moderate opposition, they're beginning to fight each other. That has given the government forces the opportunity to seize back some of the territory which they had lost just south of Aleppo. Okay. These things can change, but at the moment I think the government is feeling more confident, certainly than it was 6 months ago.
Let me go to Bilal Abdul Karim now. In southern Turkey, you've known some of these British fighters. How many have you come across? What are they like?
Well, I've come across quite a few of them, and they're of a varying sort. They're just like anybody else. When you've got a group of people together, you've got some that are easygoing, some that are not so easygoing. So it's difficult to just kind of put it, paint it with just one brush.
But are they what you might describe extremist, Al-Qaeda sympathizers, or are they, idealistic young men who are going out to, in what they see as a freedom struggle to help their Muslim brothers?
Well, we're going to have to talk about one of two of those that you just mentioned, either extremists, or we're going to be talking about those who have gone out for other reasons, which to help the Syrian people. We could talk about the extremist side of it to satisfy much of the audience who would actually have become comfortable with that narrative. But after being with them for more than a year and filming them, I see a different picture. I see people who've left their homes and their comfortable lifestyles so that they could go and help save the lives of Syrian people. As you just portrayed, there are malnutrition children due to starvation by the government forces and such like that. I think that anybody that would put their lives on the line to save those people, I wouldn't call them extremists. I would call them maybe something else, and I think a lot of Syrian people do the same thing.
But they are fighting alongside groups who are now notorious for hostage-taking, very, very brutal killings. I mean, are these British fighters taking part in all of that as well?
Well, yes, it's true that there are people who are doing hostage taking and brutal killings and such like that. But then reality has to set in. When there are more than 120,000 fighters in a country and they're all fighting the government forces, you could say, yes, they're all fighting together. But does that make them all of the same methodology and ideology? No, it really doesn't. And to be honest with you, I haven't seen any of the British. Yes.
And how are they being recruited? I mean, is it organised? Or are they just turning up on the Turkish border and saying we're here to fight? Or is it organised back in Britain?
Well, it's not organized in the respect that there's a recruiting center and people sign up, fill out an application and such like that. Generally, it's that they know someone who knows someone who knows somebody. And then that's how they pretty much come over.
Because there have been suggestions that, you know, there are lots of aid convoys going from Britain and from other parts of the world, and that, you know, some people go there and they don't come back. Is that what's happening? You know, that the aid flow is also blurred in terms of some people becoming fighters?
Well, I think it's actually a lot more than you make mention of, and I'll explain what I mean. The network of British aid and support spans not only the distribution of relief and aid, not only does it span medical help, but also in the realm of fighting and fighters. A lot of the young Muslims that come over there looking to help the Syrian people, some of them are fighters, some of them are doctors, some of them are admin, and they've got a lot of different roles that they play. And there are a lot of them that are there, and they're very, very keen in helping the Syrian people. This is what I've seen over the past year.